Thank you so much for joining us for CBN NewsWatch. I'm Efrem Graham. Ahead today, President Biden delivers his first State of the Union address amid sinking approval ratings, high rising inflation, and the war in Ukraine. Hear what he said and how Republicans respond. And in Ukraine, Russia prepares to attack the capital city of Kyiv as the humanitarian crisis grows. Plus, he was Rush Limbaugh's sidekick for more than 30 years. James Golden, the man known as Bo Snerdley, reveals a side of the radio giant you didn't hear about on the airwaves.
The staff, I can say this unequivocally. We love Rush.
And he talks about Rush's generosity and his faith. Also, Passion Music saw thousands of students burning bright for Jesus at the start of the year in Atlanta, Georgia.
It's just always about the name and the fame of Jesus.
The annual gathering gave birth to a new music project, and recording artist Melody Malone was a big part of it. All those stories and more are ahead in the CBN Newsroom.
This is CBN NewsWatch.
And we begin with President Biden delivering his first State of the Union address against a backdrop of soaring inflation at home and an international crisis abroad. CBN's Tara Mergener has this look at what he said and the Republican response.
The speech was in the works for months, with the president originally planning to rally support for his domestic agenda and massive social spending plan. But with the Ukraine crisis, a change in focus.
Putin's latest attack on Ukraine was premeditated and totally unprovoked. He rejected repeated efforts at diplomacy. He thought the West and NATO wouldn't respond. He thought he could divide us at home.
The president's primetime speech, a delicate balancing act, testing his leadership on the world stage as Russia's war on Ukraine rages on. Biden, criticized by members of both parties for not standing up quickly enough to Russian President Vladimir Putin, highlighted the battle between democracy and autocracy, announcing new efforts by his administration to push back.
We're coming for your ill-begotten gains, and tonight I'm announcing that we will join our allies in closing off American airspace to all Russian flights, further isolating Russia and adding additional squeeze on their economy.
As a tribute to Ukraine, some members of Congress wore blue and yellow. The ambassador to Ukraine for the U.S. sat with the First Lady in the viewing area.
Stand and send an unmistakable signal to the world.
The president's speech comes with his approval at a dismal 37%, thanks to a lingering pandemic, soaring gas prices, and record inflation, helping tank Biden's popularity as November midterms loom.
Despite all of his spin and rhetoric, our inflation's at a 40-year high. We've got gas prices at a 7-year high. Crime is rampant. Our southern border is an absolute disaster. Sadly, every one of these things is self-inflicted.
But Biden touted progress in the fight against COVID, low unemployment, and introduced his unity agenda.
This is our moment to meet and overcome the challenges of our time, and we will, as one people, one America, the United States of America.
Republicans, however, aren't buying it, criticizing the policies of the president and his party, as pointed out by Iowa Governor Kim Reynolds in the GOP response.
It feels like President Biden and his party have sent us back in time to the late 70s and early 80s, when runaway inflation was hammering families, a violent crime wave was crashing our cities, and the Soviet army was trying to redraw the world map.
As the situation in Ukraine develops, it is still too early to know how Americans will assess Biden's handling of the Russian invasion. But new polling shows only 42% trust him to make the right decisions. On Capitol Hill, I'm Tara Mergener, CBN News.
Want to turn now to the fighting in Ukraine, where the capital city of Kyiv is bracing for a major assault from Russia. And the humanitarian crisis is growing. Charlene Aaron has this story.
Russia is stepping up its attacks on Ukraine, changing tactics by attacking from the air and targeting civilian areas. But Ukrainian soldiers and citizens are still putting up a fight, taking up arms, ready to defend their country. As Russia faces tough opposition, it is now targeting Ukraine's civilian population and preparing for a major assault on the capital city of Kyiv. A senior U.S. official telling ABC News Russian President Vladimir Putin has ratcheted up his determination to carry on and is going to put Ukraine in a vice grip. A 40-mile-long Russian convoy of hundreds of Russian tanks and military vehicles is advancing slowly on the city. The latest reports that parts of the convoy are out of gas and food. New video from northern Ukraine shows rescue teams running into burning homes after authorities say Russian missiles targeted a residential neighborhood with a hospital nearby. At least 5 people were killed when Russian forces fired on a TV tower, also hitting the city's main Holocaust memorial. Ukraine's President Zelensky remains defiant. A Ukrainian official claims a Russian hit squad was sent to assassinate the president, but says the plot was foiled. In Russia, police arresting protesters opposed to Putin's invasion of Ukraine, with tightening sanctions throwing Russia's economy into turmoil. President Biden announcing in his State of the Union that he's closing U.S. airspace to all Russian flights.
3 дня назад мы прилетели сюда в Банско, и вот, к сожалению, получилась такая ситуация, что...
The UN now estimating nearly 700,000 Ukrainians have fled across neighboring borders, most of them women and children. This Ukrainian mother sharing her daughter's painful questions about her dad who stayed behind to fight.
Она mówiła, mama, tato będzie żył? Mama, gdzie tato? Mama, czemu nie ma tata? Mama, kiedy przyjdzie do nas tato?
Meanwhile, U.S. officials say morale among Russian troops has suffered. Videos online appear to show captured Russian soldiers saying they thought they were being deployed for exercises, not combat. Charlene Aaron, CBN News.
People in Lviv, the largest city in western Ukraine, are preparing for possible combat with Russian troops. CBN senior international correspondent George Thomas is in Lviv at a bomb-making factory. George, tell us about the efforts there.
And from what I'm holding right here is called a Molotov cocktail. Actually, the Ukrainians like to call it the Bandera smoothie. In essence, this is like a small mini bomb. The 3 ingredients, according to the Ukrainian army, which basically said this is how you should make a Molotov cocktail. What you need is a good bottle, right here. You need, this is right here. This is oil. This is gas. Here, and you need a wick to basically light the fuse. And according to the folks at Prada, which is Ukraine's one of Ukraine's largest breweries, they basically Ephraim ditched making beer and they're making Bandera smoothies. They have in the last couple of days made about 2,000 of these. This one's ready to go. All you have to do is light it. This one is sealed because it's been shipped to Kyiv and other parts of the country. Just another sign of how people here in Lviv are preparing.
And George, people, the citizens there are also taking part, I understand, in military training. What can you tell us about that?
Yeah, that's right. In fact, I can't really show you right in this direction, right around the corner. There are probably about a half a dozen or so men who are getting military training from instructors, in essence, how to approach a car, how to manage a checkpoint, how to engage. This is something that I've not seen in 2 weeks being here. I've not seen it, but clearly you are sensing a city that is very much on edge. I've seen a lot more deployment of Ukraine's National Guard patrolling the streets. So you get the sense that something, folks are definitely getting ready.
I understand certainly the fight is bigger than Russia expected. And I understand they may be upping their military strikes. Are they gaining territory?
They are. I mean, really, in the last 24, 48 hours, they've made huge gains in places like Kherson and Kharkiv, as well as Donetsk. Again, part of that whole ambition to create a land bridge from the east all the way to Crimea.
All right, George Thomas reporting for us from Lviv. Thank you so much, George. Much appreciated.
You're welcome.
Coming up, we're going to talk to Rush Limbaugh's sidekick, James Golden, about Rush's life and legacy. We've got the story for you coming up next. Stay with us.
Hey Hey, if you're tired and exhausted all day, you can't think clearly, and you really just need a cup or even a pot of coffee to get through your day, then join me, Dr. Josh Axe, for this new series where I'm going to teach you how to transform your diet and use essential oils and supplements to get a better night's sleep.
Wake up to your best life. Call 1-800-700-7000 to get your free DVD or booklet of Protect Your Sleep today.
It's about the competition.
I kind of put that pressure on myself, and I think people had expectations.
It's about overcoming.
We use this phrase all the time, keep chopping, keep practicing hard.
It's about going the distance.
You know, I think as a father, it's my job, to lead, just be the best husband and father I can be.
Watch Going the Distance with Sean Brown Saturday night at 7:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Orphans Promise is committed to loving and serving at-risk children, to helping keep families together, and to creating opportunities for strong and sustainable communities around the world. We're working in over 60 countries around the world, and with your help, we can do even more. There's an old African proverb I love that says, if you want to run fast, run alone. But if you want to run far, run together. At Orphans Promise, we want to run far so we can touch the lives of as many orphaned and vulnerable children as possible. But we don't want to go alone. We're out to change the world, one child, one family, one community at a time. Will you join us?
You may know him as Bo Snerdley. He was radio host Rush Limbaugh's sidekick for 30 years. His real name is James Golden, and a year after Rush's death, he's released a book about his life and his legacy. It reveals a side of Rush unknown to the public, including his extreme generosity and his deeply private faith. Jenna Browder brings us this story.
For Rush Limbaugh fans, you know him as Bo Snerdley, a.k.a. James Golden, Rush's right-hand man of 30 years. And as you might imagine, he has very fond memories of his former boss and friend.
Folks, there's optimism out there like you might not believe or expect.
Rush Limbaugh, the titan of conservative talk radio and a Republican kingmaker of sorts.
Rush Limbaugh, thank you for your decades of tireless devotion to our country.
President Trump awarded Limbaugh the Medal of Freedom in 2020. A year before he died at age 70 following a long battle with lung cancer.
If you just had to name one or two things, what is it that you miss most about Rush?
His laugh, his smile, his humor, his just being Rush. I mean, he was just such in many ways, Rush was larger than life to a lot of people. And even, you could be around him and know that his presence was different than most. But at the same time, the relationship that I was blessed enough to have with him, and also that those of us who worked very closely with him and every day in the Southern Command headquarters here in Florida had we were just like our own little family.
And once again, welcome back.
And that went back decades, even before Limbaugh's show and success. Golden writes about their relationship on and off the air in his book, Rush on the Radio.
What made you decide to write this book?
First of all, it's hard to believe that it's been almost a year since Rush Limbaugh passed. And after being with him for 30 years, I decided that it was up to me, and not just me, it will be others who at least had an inside view of what it was like working with Rush and who he really was, to help we put that down on so that he could have a legacy that was not written by people who never listened to him or were his political detractors, but instead for those of us who actually loved him and knew him.
Among other things, Golden highlights Limbaugh's generosity, from giving to nonprofits like Tunnels to Towers to donating millions for leukemia research. And it went well beyond that.
He was also generous to his staff. Rush had a staff of people that stayed with him for decades. And in the media, anyone that works in the media, you know this, it's usually a turnstile, people coming in, people coming out, people advancing into other positions and all that. But Rush developed a family of people that stayed with him through these decades because of the way that he ran his business operations and the way he treated his people. The staff, I can say this unequivocally, we loved Rush.
Of course, Limbaugh had his critics too. One common theme among them, he was racist.
I have problems addressing that because, I mean, look at me. I mean, really? Racist? I am a proud American who happens to be African American. I would never work for a racist. I wouldn't be able to tolerate it. Of course, Rush was not a racist. Everybody's a racist. You're a racist if you disagree with what Democrat liberal policy is. That's the first thing out of their mouths. You're a racist. You're a racist. You're a racist.
As bombastic as he could be on the air, Golden says behind the scenes, Limbaugh was a quiet and humble man.
You would include an excerpt about Rush talking about his faith and how when he got sick, he really did lean on his faith. I know he didn't wear his faith on his sleeve, but I'm wondering if you, for our audience, might be able to shed some light on that, what his faith looked like, as private as it might have been.
And it was private. And so I feel very hesitant in talking about it, except to say that he did talk about it openly. The Limbaugh letter, his newsletter, which was the most successful political newsletter in America for all the years that it was printed, the issue that came out right after he passed, it was almost like it was a premonition. It was an issue with him. The illustration was him with folded hands and just saying, God is with me. And at that point, he was with God. And he had returned his talent on loan back to God.
Golden now has his own radio show out of WABC in New York. You can stream it anywhere. And it's worth noting, WABC is where he first met Rush all those years ago. In Washington, Jenna Browder, CBN News.
Still ahead, a new music project involving singer Melody Malone. Will tell you all about it coming up next.
I am Region's first ROTC graduate student.
I'm Ephraim Graham, and this is Studio 5. Cruise with me as I discover the good things happening in the world of music, sports, television, and movies.
The fact that Ryan Coogler was going to be directing the film, I knew that something special was going to happen.
We'll chat with artists at the forefront of entertainment and explore the connection between popular culture and faith.
I asked my pastor, I said, well, does that mean I'm supposed to be a preacher? He says, well, no, you already have a pulpit.
Wednesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
How'd you like to get a redo on your health, on your body, on your arteries, so you could have the energy you had 20 years ago? The great news is you can. I'm Dr. Mike Roizen, chair of the Wellness Institute at the Cleveland Clinic. I've written 4 New York Times bestsellers. But even better than having to read all that, you can listen to this DVD and watch it. Protect your heart? Yes, you can. Here's how.
Go to CBN.com or call 1-800-700-7000 for your free copy of Protect Your Heart. Let the medical experts show you their new discoveries on how to avoid heart disease and even reverse it. Easy steps to uncover the hidden dangers in your medicine cabinet, reduce stress, and get a complete do-over for your health. Call 1-800-700-7000. That's 1-800-700-7000. Or go to CBN.com to claim your free copy of Protect Your Heart.
Passion Music saw thousands of students burning bright for Jesus at the start of the year in Atlanta. The annual gathering gave birth to a new music project as well, and recording artist Melody Malone was a big part of it. She is here in Studio 5 this week to introduce us all to Burn Bright. first, let me begin with this. I'm checking out your Instagram, and I love your description, hanging around this intersection between heaven and earth and seeing what there is to be done. So what is there to be done?
There's a lot of work to be done, I think.
Now, you are a part of Passion. What can you tell us about Passion Music?
Yeah, so Passion Music was actually birthed out of Passion conferences. It's a whole movement that our pastor, Louis Giglio, and his wife, Shelley, started. The first gathering was in '97, I believe. So it's been around for so long. And what happened, Pastor Louis had a vision one day of a generation that was really going after the name and the fame of Jesus.
How did Melody get connected to Passion?
So I moved to Atlanta, which is where Passion City Church is now based. And I moved here in 2009, was looking for a church to be a part of, and I found Passion City, and I was like, God is doing something here. The Holy Spirit is on the move, something is happening. And so I became what we call a door holder, which is what we call our volunteers, because you've seen God do something, and now you want to hold the door for somebody else to come in and experience God. And so I became a door holder. I served on our students team for a really long time, and then I became a part of our worship team, and then eventually I just watched God open door after door until I became a part of like our touring entity that gets to take music and what God is doing all around the world.
I'm gonna burn bright. I got just one light to shine like stars in the heaven.
Now, the latest project from Passion Music is Burn Bright, which was introduced at this latest conference in Atlanta, correct?
Yes, that's correct. We have these 5 songs on this project, Burn Bright, and Passion has never had, we don't have different themes every year. It's just always about the name and the fame of Jesus. But since the beginning, it has always been about the gathering of the people and then the scattering of the people. So we see and then we go out and we want to help others see. And so there's a song on that record called Shine Like Stars, and it's like, now I've seen the King's glory, and I'll never be the same. And so then it goes into this, here I am, like, Lord, send me. Basically from Isaiah 6, when Isaiah sees God in the throne room and says, like, who will go for me and who will I send? And Isaiah is like, send me, like, Lord. And so that's where the title comes from, Burn Bright, is because when we know Jesus, we're going to go and we're going to be the light of the world, like Matthew 5:14 and 15 says. And so that's where the project comes from. And it's really cool just to think about all of these students coming in and experiencing God, and then going back to thousands upon thousands of universities and just being bright lights for Jesus in this world.
What's your prayer for this project as more and more people are tapping into it?
Oh, man. My prayer is always that it just helps you see more of who Jesus is. That's, I think that's for us is, and for me, is I'm always wanting to have a relationship with Jesus, have a conversation with Jesus. And then in those moments, he transforms me and makes me more like him. And that's what the Christian life is. That's what, we were made for, to have a relationship with Jesus. And so my prayer, and I think our prayer, is that people encounter Jesus through these songs, that they are given words that help them express something they didn't know they needed to express to Jesus, but it just helps them grow closer to him and just be able to find encouragement in life when everything around them doesn't always do that.
Ahead tonight on Studio 5, Major, Channing Tatum, and Kurt Warner are all on the rundown. Major is talking about the Major Hope experience. Channing Tatum is working behind the scenes and in front of the camera in a new buddy comedy. And Kurt Warner and the creators of American Underdog are sharing a unique perspective on the film. You can catch Studio 5 on the CBN News Channel at 8:30 Eastern Standard Time this evening. You can also download the CBN News app and watch it on demand. Coming up, find out how the world is showing support for Ukrainians during this tough time. Stay with us.
Want to be a part of a community that inspires your spiritual growth while winning prizes? The all-new MyCBN app. Connect with the community for prayer and encouragement. Track and set spiritual goals. Enjoy conversation starters with friends and family. And collect points to win prizes. The all-new MyCBN app. A great place to belong. Download the app at cbn.com/mobile.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living Tuesday night at 8:30 on the CBN News Channel.
Too often, we carry baggage from our past. You know what it's like. It affects everything and everyone in our lives. It's always there, weighing us down and keeping us from achieving true happiness. But do you know God never meant for us to be trapped in the past? You can be free of your baggage. Learn how God's forgiveness leads to changed lives and new beginnings. Call the 700 Club.
Back now with a quick look around the world as people show their support for Ukrainians during this humanitarian crisis. In New York City, the Empire State Building lit up with the colors of the Ukrainian flag. Truckers held a rally on the streets of Chicago to draw attention to the crisis. In Georgia, Colorado, Ohio, and Los Angeles. Overseas, rallies are being held across Australia and New Zealand. In Rome, demonstrators gathered outside the Russian embassy. And even in Russia, people are showing their solidarity with Ukraine, leaving flowers outside the Ukrainian embassy in Moscow. Time now for your Wednesday word, and today's word is forgiveness. Know this: God forgives what you think is unforgivable. He loves what you think is unlovable. You can't fall beneath His grace. Every new day is a chance, a moment, an opportunity to do better than you did the day before. He blesses us with new grace and new mercy, and each that happens every day that our eyes open. That is going to do it for this edition of CBN News Watch. I want to remind you, you can always find more of our programs on the CBN News Channel. You can find them there at any time. You can also find them online at cbnnews.com. We would love to know what you think about the stories you've seen here today. You can email us. That address is right there at the bottom of your screen. It's newswatch@cbn.com. And of course, you can always reach out and touch us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram. We would love to hear from you. Hope you'll make this a wonderful Wednesday and join us right back here, same time tomorrow. Goodbye, everybody. God bless.